What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/NuclearRevenge. Alright, this story's called Unjustly Fire Me? Let me make you go bankrupt real quick. I was told to post this here, so here we go. This happened a few years ago and still makes me giggle with glee to this day. I'm a 30-year-old female who has always been a bit of a tomboy. I like cars, sports, and reptiles. When I was 25, I wanted a career change and finally followed my dream of working in an auto repair shop as a painter, like my father always did. To start my education, I needed to already have a job at an auto repair shop as an intern. So I searched and called a lot of companies to see if they had spots. There were literally several companies that laughed at me because there's no place for a woman on the work floor. Disheartened, I tried one final company who said he'd take a chance with me. I was thrilled. I was promised lots of opportunities to learn and a steady job after graduation. I started a week later, and the first 2 weeks were awesome. I learned a lot and was promised even more opportunities. He promised I would have 2 to 3 hours a week of private time with the resident painter for practice. Soon after, though, it went downhill. The owner had bid on a contract with a large city in our country to restore underground containers. I had to sand them down, put sealant on the edges, and prepare them for painting. Tedious work, but I did it diligently. The promised practice time never happened. After a while, all I did, day in, day out, 8 hours a day, was sand down underground containers. By the end of the day, my hands and wrists were numb from the vibrations. This, by the way, is illegal. You're not allowed to sand with a pneumatic sanding machine for more than 4 hours a day in my country, as it causes severe wrist and hand issues. After several months, the contract with the city ended, and I hoped my promised practice time would come. But no, it didn't. I was given no jobs that had anything to do with my education. I was told to do jobs that a contractor should do, like put rebar in front of the windows, repair the sliding doors, repair walls, and other small things. Basically nothing to do with my desire to become a painter. After 6 months of doing literally nothing that I could count to my education, my boss called me into his office. He told me he was fed up with my attitude. He made a mistake hiring me. I was fired on the spot. I was heartbroken and cried the whole way home. I didn't get it. I put 110% into my job, working hard, always on time, staying late if needed, and never complained. I didn't understand what happened and was pretty down for a while. However, several days later, I found out I was pregnant, which helped me get over my downness. We had been trying for over a year, so we were ecstatic. When the time came that my final paycheck should come in, nothing happened. A week after it normally came in, I called, but was told to not complain as it would be transferred shortly. 2 weeks later, still nothing. Called again and got a very irate boss on the line, cussing at me and calling me things I will not repeat here. I was fed up and contacted my lawyer. Here comes the revenge part. In my country, there's apparently a few laws that my boss broke, without me even knowing about them. First, you're not allowed to fire somebody without reasonable cause. You need to document bad behavior and give the employee a write-up. After 2 write-ups, you're allowed to terminate. My boss never did this. Unlawful termination can end in a fine, and the employee has a right to get as many monthly pays as the employment contract would have continued if the employee wasn't terminated. I had a right to another 6 months of pay. Second, you must pay the final paycheck within a week of termination. We were now going on week 4. After the first week, an employee is entitled to compensation of up to 100 euros per day of not receiving their paycheck, meaning I was now entitled to at least 2,100 euros extra pay. My lawyer wrote up a letter to my boss stating we would be pursuing my legal rights. months, he didn't respond. A week later, we sent another letter, increasing the compensation for late payment as we went. After a month of my lawyer not getting any response, suddenly I received my pay. No compensation, nothing, just basic pay. My lawyer recommended to go to small claims court, and so we did. Mind you, it takes about 3 months before you can appear before court. He didn't even show up in court, but sent a statement through his lawyer saying how I was a horrible employee, blah 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 blah. However, he had no proof whatsoever, but I did. I had my performance reports from 1 month into employment and 4 months into employment, and they were stellar. The judge saw right through my boss's bullcrap and awarded me 6 months of pay, so 12,000 euros, 4 months of late pay compensation. This is because he didn't pay the full amount my lawyer requested, as was my legal right. About 12,000 euros. Legal fees, now about 3,000 euros. I was paid the same week. He was then also charged with a fine for violating employment laws. He had to pay 50,000. This resulted in the Employment Bureau, this agency makes sure companies comply with employment laws, etc., investigating the company. They discovered the building I worked at was unsafe. The foundation was unstable, walls were crumbling and tilting. He was told to make repairs or they would close him down within a month. By accident, they discovered he was also cheating on his taxes, so the tax agency got involved. He got charged with embezzlement and tax evasion for both his companies. He had to pay back all taxes he evaded, plus a 100% fine, coming to a staggering 250,000 over several years. He didn't have that kind of money, and after struggling for about 2 months, which resulted in him not paying his other employees, he went belly up. Both businesses shut down, and the building I worked at even got demolished. 7 years later, it's still an empty plot, and if I ever feel put down by somebody, I take a short drive to that place. And it reminds me, people will sometimes get what they deserve. Edit! Wow! The response to this has shocked me, and I wanted to answer some common questions. 1. I'm from the Netherlands, and yes, I'm using dollars and the name IRS, mostly because I wanted to make this post easier to read for everybody. I'll not use them in the future as it seems to confuse some people. Sorry about that. 2. My colleagues lost their jobs too, though they did encourage me to seek justice. They too were wronged by him. First off, he let them work in an unsafe environment, which he knew was unsafe, and after I left, he asked his employees to work for free as he had financial issues, which were later proven to be untrue, at that point anyway. Most didn't accept this and left the company. The ones who stayed did lose their job when he went belly up. I kept in contact with most of them. 2 went into early retirement and are happily enjoying it. Others have moved on and found better jobs within the week. I did feel guilty at first, but the end result, including my colleagues finding better employment, made it worth it. 3. Yes, I did find another painting job for about 3 years, after which I got ill and now waiting on a kidney transplant / also in a wheelchair. Genetics, not environmental. 4. Kid is doing fine. He's 7 now. The sweet age of them being awesome and slightly annoying all at the same time. First of all, OP, that's so cool of you to do what you want despite any adversity or bias against you. You're a badass. And also, I really hope your health issues improve because kidney problems, they suck from what I've heard. Alright, this story's called Pick Your Battles a Little More Carefully. Originally posted in Petty Revenge. Was recommended that I post it in Nuclear Revenge? What? OP, how do you screw up that distinction, man? Anyway, here's the obligatory intro paragraph. On mobile, long time lurker, first post, long wind up, revenge at the end. So basically, I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment 2 months ago with Sarah and Jessica. Names changed. Now, Sarah is on the lease. Jessica is Sarah's girlfriend and isn't on the lease. I pay 50%, Sarah pays 25%, and Jessica pays 25% of the rent. Not my ideal situation, but I was desperate for roommates at the time. Fast forward about 2 months. They're enormous slobs who never do anything, so I clean up after them all the time. I vacuum the living room, mop the kitchen, do dishes, etc. I buy most of the shared groceries and household items like toilet paper, which the two of them plow through really quickly. Sarah has a cat in the apartment, which is unauthorized, and regularly has an unauthorized dog here too. Their rent is paid late and utilities on the last possible day. Also, the girls smoke copious amounts of weed, and while I don't care, I ask them to be respectful enough to air out the apartment and keep the smoke out of my room. Now, last week, crap goes south. Sarah and Jessica overheard me complaining about having to clean up after them, and after ignoring me for a few days, sent me a long text about how rude they considered that, etc. So I let out everything that was bothering me and tell them that if they don't want to live with me, I'll gladly release them from the lease, repay the deposit, and they can go. This causes them to freak out, and they tell me, "It's 2 against 1. We will force you to move." Oh, hell no! I blocked them on all forms of social media and means of communication. The next day, I went down to the apartment managers and reported the 2 unauthorized pets and the unauthorized occupant. Written notices were given. Sarah and Jessica threw them straight in the trash. I returned from a 4-day stay at my dad's and go straight to report the unauthorized occupant, Jessica, who has already once been asked to leave, and both unauthorized pets, which were supposed to be gone by now. Well, at this point, Sarah and Jessica are getting pissed off. Jessica screams obscenities at me anytime I enter or leave my bedroom. Twice she spent a half-hour period pounding on my door and the walls of my room. She taunts me through the door trying to get me to open up. All of this being quietly recorded on my phone while I still haven't said a word. So yesterday I went back down to the office to finish securing my new apartment and to report more violations. When I came home, the chain lock was locked, so I had no way to get in. This is what I had been waiting for. Jessica taunts me again on video and then slaps my hat off my head, hitting me square in the forehead with the back of her head. Bingo. The revenge. I call the cops, rat Sarah and Jessica out for being druggies, get all their paraphernalia confiscated, and get a police report for battery. Come Monday, I'll be on my way to the prosecutor's office to press charges. The apartment managers will also be getting a copy of this report. Also, tomorrow is the last day to pay rent before it's late. Sarah and Jessica disappeared early this morning. If they don't pay rent, I'm gonna get them on the abandonment clause, finally get them evicted, and have the locks changed. All before I move out tomorrow. It's 2 against 1, think again. Ooh, they had a sweet deal. 25% rent. Oh my god. A roommate that cleans up after you? They had a sweet deal, and they ruined it. Also, I'm not saying to abuse your roommates like that. That's not nice. Always do your part. Unless you have a wife. I'm kidding. I'm making fun of sexists, not women. Satire. I gotta squeeze that in there. Alright, this story's called Assistant from Hell. Let me preface this by saying that I'm still going through some mental issues because of what happened in the story. Background, I was born with cataracts that later became glaucoma when I turned 5. After some years, something happened that caused me to lose all vision in my left eye. This meant that I needed an assistant for the rest of my education. Now that you're all informed, the story. When I was starting middle school, my parents found an assistant to help me with moving around my school. I'll call her Ella for simplicity's sake. Anyway, Ella was friendly to me and my parents, so they didn't have to worry. Ella did her job and she was very friendly with me. And then it began. One day, Ella didn't come to school. She called my dad saying that she got in an accident on the road. It was fine, she got in an accident. It wasn't her fault. I spent the first 2 weeks of school trying my damnedest to explain why I couldn't write the work and give a convincing argument, and walk around without bumping into every wall and person. On top of that, Ella became more and more hostile as the months went by. She then began telling me awful things about my appearance, my personality. She even talked crap about my parents to other teachers who were just as scummy as her. The only reason why I didn't say anything was because she she made me think that doing so would get me expelled. Me being a stupid 13-year-old, I believed her, right? 13-year-olds are so stupid. God, I hate them. 14-year-olds and 12-year-olds, you're alright. But 13-year-olds, stay away. I will destroy you. Needless to say, I was miserable. The straw that broke the camel's back was the day where she was so angry that she slapped me. I was done. The revenge! I told my dad about everything. The absences, the slander, everything. When I told him, he went absolutely primate dookie, and we went straight to the principal. After telling her everything that happened, we found out that Ella was present to write herself up as present, but she never arrived to help me. We also found out that she had faked most of her reasons for absence. After a long investigation that took 2 years to actually prove, we took Ella to court. I only had to testify every single detail of what she did and what she said. Long story short, we won that case, and Ella went to prison for 3 years. After word got out of what Ella did to me, my family had heard that her friends and family basically disowned her. She also lost the remaining custody of her kids, which went directly to her ex-husband, who works as a vendor that passes by my school. Ella became forgotten garbage. It's been almost a whole year since Ella went to prison, but I sometimes still hear all the terrible things she's said. Thanks to her, I'm scared to make decisions because I can't get her words out of my mind. I'm gonna start school soon. Maybe I'll finally get that demon woman out of my head. Edit. Thank you all for the kind words. Honestly, I thought this was going to get ignored. At the time of writing this, I'm gonna start my 2nd year of high school. I'm just happy that even strangers on the internet are willing to say such nice things. Thank you all for the support. Edit 2.0. Oh my god! Thank you for the first silver! I've noticed some comments confused about my condition. I'll clarify. To be perfectly honest, I don't really know how it happened. I don't remember since it was a long time ago, at least for me. After Ella stopped being nice is when I started seriously learning how to use a cane for blind people. Okay, that's incredibly messed up and terrifying. Sad thing is, a lot of this stuff goes unnoticed and unpunished for years and years. Like, you've heard all these horror stories about, like, assisted living places and how they abuse and other things to the patients and people living there. It's terrifying, as a lot of the time these people are in a position to be manipulated easily, be it through intimidation or just straight up deception. Anyway, OP, I hope everything gets better. This is an older post. Here's hoping that they're feeling a little bit better. Alright, this story's called A Boy Murders His Family's Killer. Definitely nuclear. In World War II, Eliyahu Itzkovitz, I hope that's right, Eliyahu Itzkovitz? I don't know, I'm sorry. Was a Romanian Jew held prisoner in a concentration camp. At the age of 13, he witnessed his family get murdered by a guard named Stanescu? What a chump. That's a chump's name. He vowed revenge. After the war, he received permission to emigrate to Israel, where he joined their defense force. He never forgot about Stanescu and frequently asked about him. Soon, he got word that Stanescu had made it out of Romania at the end of the war and had fled to France, where he joined the French Foreign Legion. Itzkovitz waited for his opportunity. Sometime later, Itzkovitz was serving on an Israeli warship that had docked in Italy. He deserted and made his way to France, where he also joined the French Foreign Legion. After basic training, he asked to be sent to Indochina, where Stanescu was fighting. It took some doing, but eventually Itzkovitz got himself assigned to Stanescu's unit. Then he waited patiently. There was a firefight, and Itzkovitz and Stanescu were pinned down and awaiting reinforcements. Itzkovitz called out in Romanian, "Stanescu! You are Stanescu, aren't you?" "Yes, but..." "Stanescu, I'm one of the Jews from Chisinau." Then Itzkovitz emptied his machine gun into Stanescu's chest. He was brought back to Israel and tried for desertion. Given the circumstances, he was only sentenced to a year. This is a really cool story from history. An innocent kid got his innocence taken from him, and he did his work to get it taken back. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.